The ocean is not a battlefield. It is a ruthless auditor. It does not care about your $800 billion taxpayer-funded budget. It only obeys one law: hydrodynamics. Deep beneath the waves, a threat is lurking. A diesel-electric submarine, engines cut, drifting, silent, invisible. It achieves acoustic invisibility, matching the ambient decibel level of the ocean floor. It does not carry conventional explosives, it carries a death sentence, a heavyweight guided torpedo. Forget Hollywood, this torpedo does not slam into the hull. It is a cold-blooded assassin, programmed to dive beneath the keel. That is where it detonates. The explosion does not just tear through steel, it creates a massive, pulsating gas bubble. The cyclic expansion and collapse lift the hull, then drop it into a void. It lifts 100,000 tons of American sovereignty into the air, then removes the support. Gravity does the rest of the brutal work. It snaps the spine of this $13 billion monster in half, like a dry twig. That is the death of metal. But what about the human element? On that deafening flight deck, the line between life and death is thin, about the width of a jet exhaust stream. One slip, an accidental ejection, a body falls into the freezing black water of the North Atlantic. The moment he hits the water, rank and honor become meaningless. He is no longer a soldier. He is simply a 98-degree biological heat source, dropped into a massive heat sink. Seawater conducts heat 25 times faster than air. Thermodynamics will strip the life from him, faster than any bullet. 15 minutes. That is all the time he has, before biological systems collapse. To prevent these two catastrophes, one caused by pressure, the other by temperature, the United States Navy does not bet on massive deck guns. They bet on rotors. They call it the Seahawk. But physics is a zero-sum game. You cannot stuff a submarine hunting data center and a logistics cargo bay into the same finite space. To survive, this platform was forced to evolve in two inverse directions. The engineers were forced to split its soul. One half became a ruthless shield, to hunt enemies in the deep. The other became an angel, to snatch life from the jaws of death. Welcome to Navy Decoded. Today, we are not talking about courage. We are talking about the fragility of power. But before we dissect the differences, we must understand the common ground. And here, do not let your eyes deceive you. At a glance, these two helicopters are identical twins. Same gray paint, same aerodynamic profile. They share the same violent heart. The T-700 GE-401 Charlie engine, a twin turboshaft beast, with each engine screaming out 1,900 shaft horsepower. But its specialty is not just raw power, it is designed with an integrated particle separator. It ingests salt air, strips the salt and sand from the intake, allowing the engine to operate for thousands of hours at sea, without corroding from the inside out. They share the same brain, the common cockpit. Here, the aging, imprecise analog gauges have been purged. In their place are multifunction liquid crystal displays, running cold algorithms that help the pilot manage tons of battlefield data. But the similarities end there. In war, versatility is the enemy of perfection. You cannot be both a silent assassin and a cargo truck. So, Sikorsky engineers performed a brutal surgical separation on the S-70 airframe. Look at the MH-60R, the Romeo. The portside sliding door is deleted. In its place lies the pneumatic muscle of the aircraft, the sonobuoy launch system. They removed the seats, they saturated it with high-density avionics racks, signal processing units, and miles of fiber optic cable. It became a hunchbacked, cramped monster. It is a predator, obsessed with listening for echoes from the deep. It sacrifices comfort for hearing. Now, look at the MH-60S, the Sierra. They did the opposite. They gutted it. They tore open the ribcage with massive sliding doors on both port and starboard sides. They turned the rear cabin into the void. Not because they lacked components, but because that empty space holds hope. That is where the food, the ammo, and the wounded soldiers go. The Sierra sacrifices sophisticated sensors for volume, from ISR radar algorithms to the 9,000-pound load limit of a cargo hook. Today we will prove power does not come from being a generalist. Power comes from absolute specialization, and we will start with the Hunter. Why does a mighty surface fleet need a helicopter for protection? Why does a destroyer, with billions of dollars in radar and sonar, fear a tiny diesel submarine? The answer lies in simple physics: refraction. The ocean is not a uniform pool of water. It is a thermal layer cake. The sun warms the surface, while the deep remains freezing. At the boundary between these two zones, thermocline layers form. When a destroyer blasts active sonar from the surface, the sound waves hit this thermocline and bend, reflect upward, or deflect entirely. A submarine just needs to dive below this layer. It is like hiding behind a mirror. The surface warship is acoustically blind. That is where the Romeo enters the fight. It does not guess, it uses physics to fight physics. The Romeo hovers 50 feet above the waves. It drops a device called the dipping sonar. Do not mistake this for a microphone. This is an acoustic drill. The transducer is lowered on a cable, punching through the surface, punching through the thermocline, down to the depth where the submarine is hiding. There, it emits a massive active ping. The sound waves slam into the submarine hull and bounce directly back to the sensor without thermal interference. The Romeo strips away the enemy cloak of invisibility, using pure physical force. But the ocean is vast. The Romeo cannot dip its sonar everywhere. Look at the port side of the Romeo. Why is there no door? Because that is where a specific magazine lives. 25 sonobuoy launch tubes. The Romeo does not just hunt a target, it controls space. The pilot seeds the ocean with dozens of sonobuoys, creating a sensor minefield. Some are passive, listening for propellers. Some are active, pinging. Data from this network is beamed back to the helicopter's central computer. Triangulation algorithms plot the submarine exact course, speed, and depth. Diesel subs have a weakness. They must breathe. They must raise a snorkel mast to run generators and charge batteries. That pipe is the size of a soda can, in Sea State 3, with whitecaps. Seeing it with the naked eye is impossible. The Romeo uses the ANAPS 153V multimode radar. This is not standard radar. It uses ISAR algorithms. Instead of just sweeping the target, ISAR uses the target's own motion on the waves to generate different viewing angles, synthesizing a high-resolution 2D image. It distinguishes the difference between a breaking wave and cold metal. When the target is locked, the kill chain is complete. The Romeo drops a Mark 54 lightweight torpedo. It hits the water, activates its acoustic seeker, and sprints toward the pressure hull. Game over. But winning a battle is not enough. You need to win the war. And to do that, you need logistics. This is where the Romeo steps back, to yield the stage to its brother,